A federal judge is looking into holding the Trump administration in criminal contempt, kicking off a potential crisis. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg said that there is cause to hold the Trump administration in criminal contempt for ignoring his orders over flights containing migrants who were sent to El Salvador. In a ruling issued on Wednesday, the judge said that there was sufficient evidence to show a willful disregard by the administration of his orders in March that directed officials to halt the flight of more than 130 Venezuelan migrants to the CECOT prison in El Salvador without any due process. Boasberg has been, of course, grilling officials about the flights, trying to find out who specifically made those orders. But he hasn't had much luck. Okay. Hasn't had much luck because prosecutors keep dodging questions, claiming, oh, they're state secrets. Oh, very, very top secret stuff here. You can't know about it. Really, over this information. Or just saying that, oh, we don't actually know who instructed the planes to keep going even after your order. So we just don't know. We just don't know. Oh, okay. Now, in his ruling, Boasberg said he was exceedingly doubtful of the government's claims to state privileges. What is the privileged information here? Well, it's not like he's asking for information about diplomatic agreements that may have been negotiated, or the flights, or any sensitive military measures taken, or any sort of strategy, if there is one. No, what he's doing is just asking for confirmation on times and numbers. For example, he asked how many passengers the two flights had carried, whether they were all deported pursuant to the proclamation, and when they were transferred out of U.S. custodies. So now, in his order, Boasberg writes that the court is skeptical that such information rises to the level of being considered a state secret. Let me just point out the irony here, right? Where you had state secrets taken from the White House to Mar-a-Lago, okay? And all these Republicans are like, that's totally fine. I mean, but you got, classified material in Joe Biden's garage. Oh, got him. Oh, suddenly we care about classified material. Okay. And when we're trying to protect our very illegal migrant flights to El Salvador with no due process, we're just going to, claim that this is all secret. Sorry, can't do it. Okay. Gotcha. Right. Okay. Now look, in his order, as I mentioned, he writes the court is skeptical, and if it was, he noted then the government wouldn't have been boasting about the flights, all on social media and through their official announcements on Twitter/X. Look, hours after the March's court order to return the flights was issued, you had Secretary of State Marco Rubio sharing a post on social media. The Secretary of State, for instance, Boasberg writes, retweeted a post in which, above a news headline noting the court's order to return the flights to the United States, the president of El Salvador wrote, oopsie, too late. Okay. All right. Now, as a result of all of this, of course, Boasberg gave attorneys representing the government until April 23rd to comply with his requests for information. Now, what happens if he gets it? Well, he says that he could purge the contempt proceedings if the administration asserts custody over the people who were removed so that they might avail themselves to their right to challenge their removability through a habeas proceeding, giving them essentially due process, which is what they were asking for to begin with. That's what they should have gotten to begin with, due process. Now, of course, if the administration does not comply, then he said that prosecutors should file a declaration stating exactly who made the decision not to stop the transfer of migrants. It was this guy. It's his fault. And then they will go after that person. Now, Boasberg wrote, the foundational rule of law demands that there be an inquiry over the administration's compliance or lack thereof. That rule of law, he said, reflects a belief that in the fair administration of justice, no man can be a judge in his own case, no matter how exalted his station or righteous his motives. That's a shot at Donald Trump, if I've ever seen one. Okay. Yes, he is not above the law. Or at least shouldn't be. Of course, the Supreme Court begs to differ. Now, the judge also wrote Wednesday that he had tried to give the Justice Department multiple chances to rectify or explain their actions since his original order in March, but they refused to do so, leaving him no choice but to consider criminal contempt. Yeah. Okay. Now, the Supreme Court sided with Boasberg in this issue. Now, he wrote, the Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial orders, especially by officials of a coordinate branch who have sworn an oath to uphold it. Allowing officials to freely annul court orders would make a solemn mockery of the Constitution itself, he added. Well, to be fair, everything about the Trump administration seems to make a mockery of the Constitution, so what's one more thing? Trump is the kind of guy the founders did not want into power, okay? Because he has no respect for separation of power, no respect for the Constitution, and no respect for the American people. None. None at all. That said, what is going to happen if he orders the administration into contempt? Okay. Well, typically criminal contempt involves fines or imprisonment. That said, Wednesday's order did not mention any specific punishments, but did explain, without too much detail, that there would be a couple of ways that they could go about it. Federal rules for criminal procedure do state that contempt proceedings can be prosecuted by an attorney for the government, should the Justice Department refuse or decline to assign someone to prosecute the case. Boasberg said then he would appoint an outside attorney to do it. Okay, that said, would Trump be, held accountable? No, he would be immune to any consequences. But that doesn't mean that others could not be held accountable. Donald Trump is not acting alone. Anyone in this administration that is involved could be hauled off to defend that decision in court. And if they don't, I'm very worried what will happen if they do ignore that order, though, and are held in contempt. And then, of course, when they ignore that, what's the next step? Who's going to enforce this? Where's the enforcement here? The DOJ is a Trump DOJ filled with loyalists. The rest of the government is a Trump government filled with, you guessed it, loyalists. So what's going to happen? This is my fear, okay, that we go headfirst into a constitutional crisis where the administration goes further into authoritarianism by ignoring the Supreme Court, the same court who, ironically, gave Donald Trump immunity from any prosecution for official acts in order to get him out of the legal trouble that he was already in. Turns out, just like we were saying, it's a real bad decision that we as a country, as a nation, as a people, will continue to pay for. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe with the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.